Whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right, guys, here we are in another game of the day. I got to actually touch up the scoreboard this time, so if you wouldn't mind, Miss Zombie Grub, to start us off.
All right. In the bottom left of Star Station, he's currently up 2-1 against his opponent. It's going to be Acer's Nerchio as the Teal Zerg.
Yeah, and we saw Emil there, a little morose, I guess, about the color swap here. Blue versus blue, later blue, I guess. His opponent in the upper right corner of Star Station, right at home on this Protoss map. It is your blue Protoss player, Socke. And I saw this in chat earlier. I didn't get a chance to touch on it. Socke and Goody probably have the most metal haircuts in all of StarCraft 2.
Right, yeah.
Like, I feel like I should replace all of our intro music with, like, just some hardcore metal, just as, like, the tribute to Socke when we introduce him.
Yeah, there's another student in my school who I genuinely think is Socke. Like, he looks a lot like him, and he's, like, really, really into metal. He's in a metal band, and he's always talking about all the metal songs, and I'm like, I wonder if that's what it's talking like to Socke. I actually have no idea if he's in the metal, though, so...
Oh, man, and I want to give a big shout out here to, I'm going to say his name wrong. I'm not even going to try and say it, but I have a 500th follower on Twitter, and I haven't joined a live broadcast, so that makes me even happier, so big shout out. I'm not saying the name because Twitter's actually not telling me who it was, but thank you, whoever you are, you mysterious Twitter follower, you have made my day.
Yay!
Yay! Dude, it's just the OC. I don't care that it's 500. Like, if it's 99 versus 100 or 499 versus 500, right? Like, it's that OCD 99 number that kills me. But you guys are awesome. Now we got a Forge coming out of Socke. Nexus did go down first. Nerchio, if he goes quick, and he went for like a 10 pull, could have got some link snuck up in there, but he went for a pretty standard pull time with a pretty standard hatchery to follow this up. Now, given the fact that this is Star Station, I do need to, of course, draw attention to the third bases being incredibly obnoxious to take on this map for both players, as they are both extremely open to counterattacks and regular attacks from all sides.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Derelict Watcher, which was a disaster of a game for a Protoss player last time, but it is very akin to it. Third base is hard to take, same tile set as well, the Protoss tile set, I guess it's called.
Yeah. I want to give a big thanks there to Disturbed on 3, correcting me. You're right, it's not OCD, it's being anal retentive. It's pretty much the same difference to me, but either way, that is the correct term, so thank you about that, man.
Well, anything going on in this game quite yet?
No,
not too much.
You know what? If you guys didn't watch Wings of Liberty, if you got into StarCraft at Heart of the Swarm, you're lucky. You know why? You got to miss a lot of the I don't know, 13-minute stale, boring opener games that you would see in PvZ. Like, there was a time where every caster, even the bad casters, could blindfold cast as ZVP because they would open the same way. And while gateways have become more popular in Heart of the Swarm, the Forge expands are still here. And this doesn't mean it's going to be a boring game, but it is a slower opener because you basically say to your opponent, like, hey, I'm Protoss, I'm going to get my economy up quick so you can go ahead and take your third base. I'll let you get away with that. We're both going to have some nice economy for the mid-game. So
yeah.
It's a good way to play, but for casters, man, anyone who casts during Wings of Liberty still cringes at these openings.
It was two openings, right? It was either the Roach Bust that Stefano does,
yeah,
or it was, oh, well, you're probably going to wait until you get Brood Lords, and I can't attack you before then because Infestors are good, so I'm going to wait until I have like 4 bases, and then we're going to get the Mothership Core, and then we're going to attack each other.
Man, rest in peace Brood Lords, though, right? Like, when is the last time you really saw effective use of Brood Lords?
You know, every single time I've seen people go Brood Lords, unless they were already way far ahead, they've died.
Yeah, actually, I say that, but I'm going to take that back immediately. I want to give a big shout out. TLO did this really cool thing for a long time in the opening Heart of the Swarm, where he'd go for, like, your Swarm Host builds, right? And that's nothing out of the ordinary, but he'd always pair it with, like, 3 Broodlords for that mid to late game transition. And, like, 3 Broodlords doesn't win you the game, but that many extra Broodlings buffering for your Locusts, it's so many free units, and it's so cool to watch.
Yeah, that's an interesting tactic. You know, unfortunately, what happens usually is that PvZ, if it goes for a very long period of time, which so far Nerchio has been very good about being aggressive in the mid game, so it really hasn't, is that you get like the Void Ray, Colossus, Carriers even at some point, Tempests. Yeah, that's the one.
You know what? Whiterust still actually actively uses Carriers, not all the time, but he does it with actual success, which always blows me away. Because I've always
are fun now that you can be microed.
Yeah, like before you couldn't even, like the interceptors were, what? Hi, I'm flying around. Got 7 brothers. We're not going to listen to anybody. But again,
Yeah.
Nerchio sees this Stargate, and he's sitting right on top of it, not because he's scared of losing the Overlord or anything, but because he wants to know what comes out first. He has to know whether it's a Phoenix, an Oracle, or a Void Ray. And it's good to see it's a Void Ray.
Well, he saw it when it's forming, so.
Well, yeah, you can zoom in and take a look at the
Yeah,
crystals.
but it was gonna die anyway, so why not just keep it there?
Yeah, but I mean, like, how many, like, these pros who are microing on the map, you're constantly bouncing between the natural and third. Often you won't actually see them take the time to zoom in and look like, oh, okay, yeah, that's definitely a Void Ray versus a Phoenix. But either way, he knows it's on the field now. It's like, I had an argument with, I think, Masan or somebody the other day. We're talking about, like, microing Widow Mines. I'm like, what Terran player do you know of that has the APM to spare while splitting Marines and keeping his medevacs alive to actually micro the Widow Mines in the middle of a combat like that?
It's so hard. It's like, it's pretty much, it's exactly like tanks, right? And I guess we'll talk more about it if it comes to TVZ in the next game, but it's just like tanks. You can only micro them so much. You can't be like, you know, separate microing them to different like banelings and stuff like that. But anyways, Socke gonna defend his third right here. Nerchio not being able to post it.
Getting that really sick SimCity up early. That cannon, I mean, it's one cannon, but it will not go down anytime soon. So Ling run-bys will not be that effective. Now, if Nerchio comes with a super-duper amount of Lings, different story. But what he's currently got on the field cannot knock down this Nexus.
No, and he is making more and more Lings. Guy loves his Lings, doesn't he? And could be going up to Muse once again. He's getting that +1 melee, so definitely going to stay on it for a long time. Banelings! Banelings, hey now.
Well, I'm gonna like avoid singing the Husky song here for a second. It's really tempting, but I don't think he'll have the same success he had earlier. When he busts Showtime, Showtime was like in a position where he really just was not ready for it. Socke's got units on the field. He's got a lot of sentries, and he would be able to hold this if, like, you know, push comes to shove with a lot of Banelings. That's some really nice positioning, hiding behind the minerals, hiding behind the gas, wants to limit the surface area, make sure no surround goes off. Still forced to burn a couple of force fields, but I mean, ultimately, again, it's Baneling Nest, it's on the way, but I don't see it causing crazy amounts of damage like it did versus Showtime.
And you know, he spotted it too with a hallucinated Phoenix, I believe, so he knows it's there. Did not scout the Spire. It's in the middle of the natural, actually looks like a spore crawl. I think that's kind of neat, but you know, he doesn't know
Actually,
that's
he hasn't. Yeah, he hasn't scouted the natural at all, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And the
died
natural,
against both queens.
well, the natural's a really common place to put your tech as a Zerg player. You often will see them not put in the main because of the threat of a sentry warp in, you know, with the warp prism all in, or you can go for like just constant scouts in the main. So it's kind of cool that you put it in the natural, but I'm also surprised Socke didn't scout the natural.
Yeah, so that's going to be really unfortunate. He looks he's going to push out here, but with the Lings threatening that counterattack, he's going to need to be careful about it. Has a nice SimCity though, should be able to take care of it. Nerchio also going up to a 4th base, 19 Mutilas coming out at the same time. That is going to be quite a shock for Socke.
You know what, Socke, if he was smart, he would have been watching the series prior to this, though, and knowing, like, this is the typical thing that Nerchio's been doing versus Protoss. I mean, it's not even just Nerchio's style. This is a very common style versus Protoss in general. Now, a lot of people underestimate it. Sentries and Stalkers, very good at dealing with low amounts of Mutilas, but almost 20 Mutilas on the field can be very difficult to deal with, especially with no Phoenixes out yet.
Yeah, and then using the Guardian Shields instead of the Force Field against the Banelings can also be very problematic.
Ooh, I didn't actually consider that.
Forward.
Yeah, that could be very dangerous. Spore Crawlers are down here as well, so I mean, Socke doesn't want to fight offensively at all. If he does, he's just asking for trouble.
Yeah, does he even see the Mutants? There we go. The probe sees the Mutilas, and he knows he needs to be very,
Bailey's
very
trying to
careful.
come in.
Guardian Shield and the Force. Oh, barely going down in
sick
time.
Force fields. The donut is made, but there's just so many Mutilisks here. They're not going down anytime soon. 18 still remaining. Most of these units have been picked off. Mothership Core goes down as well. No chance of a recall. The Stalkers from behind, though. That big warp in reinforcement with that blink should be enough to hold this. Or not hold this, I guess. Continue pressing the attack.
Yeah, but with 30 more Lings as well as a few more Mutalisk, I think that he is, it's going to be very difficult for him to push forward. He might even just push or go back home, but you know those donuts that protect them from the Banelings kind of worked against them when it came to Mutalisk because they bunch everything together for the Glaive Bounce, so...
Well, the other problem too is, like, the Archons are a great move, but Archons getting surrounded actually don't do so well versus Lings. They're great at shelling away when they're choked up in those force fields, but there are no sentries, there are no force fields. It's going to be very difficult to use these Archons to their fullest potential.
Yeah, but he's continuing to push in, does not want to go back at all, wants to go ahead and end this game now, and I'm not sure that he can come in from all
big
different
surround.
sides.
Mutalisk, Lings, even the Queen's in this. Baneling's coming in here as well. There's not a lot for them to connect to, but why the hell not if you got him to spend. Archon's going down here very quickly. Archon's kind of the last bastion hope versus the Mutal Clump. There are still blink on these Stalkers, but the Lings coming from behind are going to be just a little bit too much. Socke is blinking to retreat, but he's so far down supply right now, Zombie Grub. This is not looking good for our Protoss player.
Yeah, he has no army. I mean, his army right now is dying. He has a few zealots and a few stalkers back at home, hoping the cannons can do something. No mothership core either for an extra cannon. And Nerchio, I think, is going to take this series and go on to face Cass.
Yeah, this little sad to see both our Protoss players go out like this. Just the Mutalisks pretty much more than anything else. Cannons and Stalkers, though, he's not out just yet, but he's not looking very good is the problem. Bailey's going down on the Stalkers, because why the hell not? Who cares about the Zealots? They're not scary.
Yeah, and the huge flux of Lings is going to be able to take out this third. Although, once again, the Sim City just keeps them from getting that surround. But there's so much.
He's focusing
so
cannons
much more
with
coming.
the Mutalisks, though. Mutalisks now go towards the main. Blink trying to follow them. There are more cannons here to catch them. But man, Nerchio's just continuing to make like 40 more Lings behind this. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a massacre now is what this is.
Yeah, with all those Lings popping out right now, it's just going to be a game over for Socke. He's only making Stalkers at this point, so he could just swell with Lings and kill those off, at least take down the third.
He's doing a great job with his blink micro though. Like big props to Socke. He's like he's holding this better than he should, but there's just no coming back from this. Losing the third base is gonna be devastating. I mean, he's warping in some Templar now, gonna get those Archons on the field ASAP, but oh man, this is looking pretty grim.
Yeah, and just wonder why did he push in? Why did he feel the need to push in off a 3-base economy versus 4-base? 4-base Zerg. I'm not sure because he's doing so well. Imagine if he had all of his army that he originally had. I think he would definitely been holding this.
Oh, especially if he was paired with like more units on the field. If he had seen the Mutalisks as well, I mean, GG is called. Another 3-1 victory for Nerchio. But before we get out of this again, like I can't help but hark. If he scouted that natural base zombie grab, I feel like this would have been a very different game.
The natural base?
Yeah, where he had the Spire.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course. But even then, I guess he didn't have a mothership core, did he, with that attack?
Well, he had it, then got picked off like right away by the Mutalisks.
Yeah. So, I guess the reason he didn't want to go back is because once he went back, his army would be picked off slowly. But, he had knowledge of the Mutalisks for a very long time and still had a decent-sized army, no sentries, which sucked, but definitely could have tried going home, but I guess it was kind of a